From the C-suite to the street, welcome to another edition of Street Talk Live, featuring industry leaders and special guests, up-to-the-minute news and trending new developments, your questions answered live, and much, much more. And now, live from EPSG's corporate headquarters in Melville, New York, it's time for today's episode of Street Talk Live.
Welcome, everybody, to a brand new edition of Street Talk Live. Jeff Burke here, Chief Sales Officer for EPSG, and we're coming to you with some great content. So today we have a fantastic guest, one of our top sales partner, Stephen Pollock. Hey, Steve, how are you today?
Jeff, nice to be with you, buddy.
Excellent. We have some great questions for Stevie to help answer, to teach you guys what's made him so successful in this. But first off, I'd like to introduce what we really call Mr. Pollock, and that's Stevie the P, okay? So Stevie, a couple quick questions for you.
Okay.
How long have you been in the bank card industry?
I started in October 2009, so a little more than 10 years.
10 years, excellent. How'd you get introduced to the industry?
I used to work in direct sales in a different industry, selling cookware, otherwise known as pots and pans, and my friend from my country club owned a processing company, and he tried to recruit me for 15 years, and I reneged him. And then after 15 years of annoying me every day, I had no choice but to come on board in October 2009.
Excellent. Good story. So, in that pots and pans or whatever else you did before, like what kind of past experience do you lean on to help you in your bank card career?
That's a great question. I would say the most important advice that I can give anybody getting into bank card, everything that I do for long dollar. I think this is one of the greatest businesses in the world because even though it's sales, I feel it's the easiest form of sales because you're not asking for the person on the other end for money. But with that being said, you just have to be honest and truthful with your merchants. And the negative to our industry, in my opinion, is you don't make a lot of money on every deal. But if you're in this industry for the long term and you have enough confidence in your own ability that you believe you're going to be in this industry in 3, 4, 5, 10 years, then it's just the greatest industry. And if you have that attitude and you portray that to your merchants and you follow through on what you say, then sky's the limit on what you could achieve.
I couldn't agree more, Stevie, definitely. I've always kind of said about this industry, you're selling savings, right? It's not a major product that you're doing. But the reality is that, these merchants hear that a lot, and one of the things I've always prided, knowing how you do it, is really building that relationships with these people and really leveraging the relationships and the kind of sphere of influence that you had. So talk a little bit about that. Like, how do you go out and solicit new business? Like, what's your main shtick, for lack of a better term?
Well, I have two things that I do. First of all, I have a lot of referral partners, and again, because I do everything long dollar, I give them a piece of the pie just for them making introductions, whether they're in the camera industry, the optical world, the dental world, the hotel world, senior assisted living. Those are a couple of markets that I've touched on. And once you get into a market and you've had some success, then I ask the people in those industries if they could connect me with people who do shows or events, national events where I could be a guest speaker. And it's really just morphed into something that's beyond phenomenal.
Yeah, I've had the pride of witnessing this firsthand and how you conduct yourself up on the stage at some of these shows. Some of the support I know we give you, be able to help you get into these shows and help back in that both from a marketing perspective and just kind of signing up type of stuff. So I'm just kind of curious for the viewers at home, give us an example, a brief one, of what that pitch really looks like at one of those events.
Well, I hope this plays well, but I'll tell it the way it is. Whenever I speak in front of a group, whether it's 50 or 500, I usually get up in front of the group and I'll say, our industry, credit card processing, merchant services, we are the worst people in America. And when I say that, all the people that are usually just sitting like this will start hysterically laughing, and they become open-minded. And the reason why I do that is because that's the last thing they're ever expecting you to say, or any public speaker to say. So I realize that merchant services is a necessary evil. I don't mean that to be negative, but the people have had so many bad experiences until I come along, especially if they're in an industry where they have proprietary software. Then I really know they're getting taken advantage of to the tune of 3-4%. So when I tell people, I say, listen, I want to be your credit card processor, not your business partner. Unfortunately, most of the credit card processors are also your business partner. So,
Sure.
Again, it's just being brutally honest. You have to have a supreme amount of self-confidence, and you have to follow through on what you say. I do 3 things that I don't think too many people will do with my merchants. I tell them that they're not in a contract. I let them go month to month. I cap their rate. If they're in a retail situation, card present, I tell them they're never going to be above 2.7. If they're in a card not present situation, I tell them they're never going to be above 3%. And I tell them that the rate that I'm going to give them is not an introductory rate. I promise them that I will never raise their rate. And these merchants, they, when you go over their merchant statement with them, they think they're at one number, and then when you have to be the bearer of the bad news and tell them
Sure.
that they're at something completely different, usually they say, well, I wasn't that way when I started, and that's because in the bank card industry, you would think it's regulated, but the processors, what they do is they slowly inch you up.
Sure.
And you have to be able to differentiate yourself. Plus, when I'm speaking in front of groups, I have to do the right thing, because if I have 45 periodontists or 55 owners of senior assisted living and 54 love me, but I do the wrong thing by one person, that one person, I could jeopardize my whole market.
Sure.
So
It's actually a great segue into kind of my next set of questions. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if that's kind of your main, push that you want to, kind of articulate, I would assume it's pretty important to pick the right partner that doesn't turn around and jack your rates up after a while. Is that safe to say?
without a doubt.
Without a doubt. So, with that being said, I know you've had a pretty long, lustrous career in bank card, no doubt about it. How many companies have you placed business with? How many companies have you worked with other than EPSG?
Well, I don't think 11 years is too long of an illustrious career. I was in the cookware business for 25 years, so
Sure.
I started when I was 7. But I would say in bank card, I've really only placed business with 3 companies, really 2. The first company I worked for my friend, and he got acquired. His company got acquired in 2016. We were a boutique processor. He had over 30,000 merchants, and then when he got acquired, I vetted a lot of different companies, and EPSG was one of those companies. Needless to say, it didn't hurt that they're only about 3.7 miles from my house. That was a big positive. But
Sure.
all kidding aside, I just felt, unlike any of the other over 20 companies I vetted, I just felt that I could trust Brett, Rich, yourself. I didn't want to make another move. I would have never made another move, to be honest with you, if my friend never sold his company. But, I started in, I think it was October of 2016. And I'm very sarcastic. It pains me to say this, but it's been the greatest 4 years of my life. I mean, between the industries I'm in and the way my portfolio is going, and more importantly, it's not just really price, I believe, it's service. When I vetted all these companies, it takes years to build a portfolio, but it only takes months to lose a portfolio. So
Sure.
you don't have a back end that knows what the hell they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And between customer service, definitely customer service, the people processing your orders, just when people call in and not being on hold for 25 minutes, not
Sure.
calling and getting some foreign country. You could give the person the greatest rate in the world, but if their first experience, they got a problem and they're a whole
bad,
27 minutes, It doesn't matter how great their rate is.
Doesn't work. Totally
No.
gotcha. So obviously you went vetting these ones. No matter what we did or myself did to kind of pitch you to bring you on board, it was still a bit of a leap of faith. Now we're a couple years in. You still seem to be pretty happy with us. What do you think the number one reason why you stay with EPSG is?
Because you and Brett constantly abuse me every day.
In a good way.
In a
Sure.
good way. No.
Yeah.
You have to love what you do. I love the banter back and forth. I love the fact that if I have a situation, it's going to get taken care of. And I know that between the referral partners that I have, the industries that I control, and the back end with EPSG, that sky's the limit on what
Excellent.
on what I could do.
So, this is kind of more of a selfish question. I'd like to always kind of get some feedback from some of our top agents like you. You probably noticed throughout the year we do a lot of incentives. We do cash bonuses per day. We do, more, month, 2-month, quarter-long kind of competitions. We do the annual sales trips. Like out of those various, kind of initiatives or incentive programs that we do, which individual one or which type of one really drives you as a sales partner? Or are you one of those guys that you don't need any extra drive?
No, I need plenty of drive. Everybody needs to be motivated.
Sure.
I would say the best trip that you guys had in the short time I've been with you guys is the optics trip.
Sure.
And because that's when you get to compare notes with all your peers. You get to see what they're doing, where you differ, what they key on, what you don't key on. And it's always good just picking people's brains, and I always say knowledge is power.
Sure. So something I pick on you about a little bit. I know 2018 you were still kind of transitioning over to us completely. You had a pretty good 19. So if I had to ask you a question, are you going to make President's Club this year? I'm just curious.
Well, according to you and Brett, I've been told I already made President's Club.
Well, we haven't fully announced it yet, so I don't know.
No, I would say I hope so. The industries that I'm in, I know that I'm very, very lucky because, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, the average merchant in this industry is usually a $30,000 or $40,000 a month merchant. And the industries I'm in, between the optical world, the dental world, those dental labs, those merchants are like $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a month merchants. Now I'm starting to get into hotels and senior assisted living, which is, it's just mind-boggling. It's in the millions a month in processing.
Yeah, with those numbers, I think you'll probably make it. Hopefully, I'll be looking forward to pinning that pin on you for sure.
Thank you.
So
is that the pin right there?
That's the pin right there.
Okay.
Absolutely, exactly right.
Okay.
You don't have one yet. We'll make sure you work on that. So, a couple other questions to wrap this up. So we have a lot of viewers that are going to get an opportunity to see this, and a lot of them, look up to somebody like you. Some of them are confused. What the hell kind of job did I just take, right? So, if you had an opportunity to speak directly to somebody brand new in this industry that's just literally learning from our trainings, well, what would be some level of advice that you would give that individual not knowing anything about this industry?
Great question. I wish someone gave me this advice that I'm going to give. The best advice I can give anybody coming in this industry is nothing good is easy and nothing easy is good. This is definitely not an instant gratification business. But when I say that, that is not meant to come off negative. In fact, if you give this business a year and you just learn everything you need to learn, and if you can do, realistically, when I started in the business, if you could do, let's call it 1 account a week, 2 accounts a week, regardless of the size, after 8-9 months, you'll start to see your confidence level go up. Once your confidence level goes up, and when you get people who say, you know how many people I've had call me before, you know how to shoot down all these basic objections on the phones, whether it's in person, whatever it is, and there is no substitute for that positive experience. So this is an industry where you have the opportunities. I mean this sincerely, sky's the limit. And I had a portfolio with one company, and now I'm starting on my second portfolio with EPSG, and in 4 years, it's just about equaled. Well, not just, it's a little lower, but in 4 years, almost what I was making in 10 years with my other company. And you have to believe you can do it. That's the most important thing. It doesn't matter who's training you, who your direct manager is. You have to have a supreme confidence in your own ability. And if you become a sponge in this business, whoever's training you, if you have a supreme confidence in your own ability, and even though it's sales, I really sincerely believe, Jeff, it is the easiest form of sales. I say that, people look at me like I'm crazy. You're not selling insurance. It's not like you're selling medical devices. The person on the other end of the table is not coming out of pocket. So if you could save them money, and you're working through a referral partner, like all my leads are through my referral partners, they're going to be open-minded to take my call, which makes it easier. But if you're working through a referral partner and you're calling someone, they really have to be an absolute knucklehead not to just give you an opportunity to do an analysis on their merchant statement. I mean, because the worst thing that could happen is I go back to them and say, listen, Jeff, you're in a great place. Stay where you're at.
Sure.
And if they're in a great place, I'm going to tell them stay where they're at.
You know, Steve, I think you hit a nerve that I've always been trying to kind of project to new people, even struggling veterans in this industry, you know. And it's kind of a really simple saying, you know, this is as hard as you make it, you know. And you know, one thing that I've always, you know, noticed about you is that, you know, we run into some hiccups sometimes that can definitely heat up the situation a little bit. But you've always lived by that. You know, this is as hard as you make it, and you have a knack of making it easy, you know, and I commend you for that. And
I wouldn't say I make it easy, but one of the things from being a seasoned salesperson, like many of the people who are going to be seeing this are, the key thing is I don't hear no. Because when they give me a no, no is not a no. No is give me some more reasons so it could be a yes. Like if they say to me, Stevie, do you know how many calls I got like this in the last month? I'll say to them, I hate to be slang, I go, yo, bro, you haven't got any calls from me. You might have got calls from 29 other schlubs walking the street from Bank of America, Chase Manhattan Bank, TD Bank, or Capital One Bank, or whatever. I said, listen, I'm working with EPSG. I said, I because of the size of my portfolio, I have the flexibility and freedom to do whatever I want. I said, listen, you have nothing to lose by sending me your merchant statements. I'm not asking for your firstborn. I'm not asking for a wire into my bank account. I'm asking for your merchant statements. The worst thing that could happen to you is I come back to you and I say, yo, Jeff, stay where you're at, which definitely does pain me to say, and I only say that 1 out of 100 times, because usually I can save them money. I have the flexibility to do whatever I want. Now, if I can't save them enough money that it's worthwhile for them to change, then by all means, I'll take the high road, and I'll say, listen, if you're not happy with your service, in fact, I'll say this to you. I have lots of merchants that say to me, Stevie, you don't even have to beat my rate. You just have to match my rate. What they're really telling me is they hate who they're with. And they hate the service. So I love when I don't get that call too many times, but if they say, Stevie, you don't even have to beat my rate, just match my rate, I'm on board, that's a beautiful thing too.
Those are the best, no doubt. Well, with that being said, man, I really appreciate you coming in today and shooting this little thing, and hopefully that people are going to gain some good stuff from you. And again, I appreciate it, and I really enjoy doing business with you, Stevie.
And hopefully I can get one of those pins so the next time I do one of these videos, I could have it right on my lapel.
We'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank you, bud.
Guys, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for being at Street Talk. If you guys got any questions about some of the stuff we covered today or anything you want to ask Stevie, we encourage you to put those questions into the question log, and we'll make sure we follow up with those individually. So thanks again for being on Street Talk. Same time in 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks we have Street Talk, and we're looking forward to bringing you some great high impact content, starting with interviews like this all the way to some great content. So we appreciate it. See you out there. Thanks.
For more information on any of the topics covered in this episode of Street Talk Live, please contact the EPSG sales team at 1-866-373-2249 or via email at salesteam@goepsg.com. We look forward to hearing from you. To enjoy this and previous episodes of Street Talk Live, please visit us on the web at www.goepsg.com. Street Talk Live is an EPSG production.